good evening, or good afternoon, or whatever for all of you. I'm Jean, I'm the program technical coordinator of this program, and I'll tell you first a little bit about the Erasmus Mundus Joint Master Programs. What are these? Well, these programs already exist for 20 years since last year. They were established for two main reasons. The first reason is to stimulate European universities to work together and create excellent top quality programs together, to join forces and highlight the quality of European education. By now there are about 200 of these programs, 200 and something, on all different fields, ranging from forestry, winemaking, tourism, language, whatever. And we are one of these over 200 programs. The second reason to establish these programs 20 years ago was to attract excellent students worldwide to these European programs. So excellent students, that may be you next year, who knows. Now, how do these, what is characteristic for these programs? Well, mostly that they are organized by at least 3 European universities, in our case 4 universities, NTNU in Norway, Wageningen University in the Netherlands, University Autonoma Barcelona in Spain, and Ghent University is the coordinator here in Belgium. Typically for these programs is the mobility, what means that the students will physically spend part of their time in Ghent University one semester, then they will move to one of the 3 other partners for 1 or 2 semesters, and for the thesis they can move again to another partner. And in the end, they will receive a diploma, a joint diploma signed by all partners except for the Wageningen that have a double diploma. So it's one diploma for the whole program. And that is in a nutshell what an Erasmus Mundus Joint Master is. I give the floor back to Leen.
Thank you, Jean. Let's move on to the program content and scope explained by Professor Annelies de Klerk.
Happy to introduce you why you would have to come and study with us on seafood. I think we all know the importance of seafood. It provides proteins, omega-3 fatty acids, a lot of minerals, vitamin A. And on the next slide, you can actually see the trends in aquaculture versus fisheries. So when we look at the blue part, we see the statistics since 1918 on capture fisheries production, where we see that it's quite stable. Over the years, it has become, or it stayed stable, but the world population keeps on growing. And the extra proteins that we need, we can provide via aquaculture production, which you can see in a more reddish part. And there's also an outlook for the future. It keeps on growing. So if you choose for our master, then you are choosing for a sector that is still growing. Now, in the next slide, we see that the technology behind the aquaculture is also a booming business. Also, it's driven bio-industry. There is a lot of work going on, not purely on the fish production, but also on other sectors around it and beneficial effects and products that we can extract from aquaculture products as well. On the next slide, you see what the challenges are for sustainable aquaculture development, and hence where our training is built around. So we work around feed, farming, health, and life cycle. And we work around 4 groups of species. We have the fish, the crustaceans, the mollusks, and the seaweeds. And of course, the important interaction with the environment. In the health management in aquaculture Erasmus program, the focus is on health. And the objective is to culture tasty and safe food of aquatic organisms in a sustainable way. In the next slide, you see the program objectives. So firstly, we need to understand interactions between the farmed organisms with pathogens and with the environment. So it's a triangle, and when there is a disbalance between one of those, we can get into trouble, and we can have or develop interventions to prevent disease, to work on nutrition, and also zootechnics to make sure that we can keep these animals healthy, also the food production healthy and sustainable, to in the end have tasty, safe, sustainable food. Now, on the next slide, you see our partners, which were already mentioned by Jean. We also have our associate partners, where you, for example, also can do internship and thesis work. They're Kazetsart University in Thailand, Kanto University in Vietnam, University Terengganu in Malaysia. We also have other partners, Worldfish, Sea-Rats, and they keep on expanding. On the next slide, you see the curriculum and the mobility that you would be involved in. So in the first semester, you see that you will learn about basic principles in health management in aquaculture at Ghent University. So this semester, you are entirely at Ghent University after a very nice inception program, which is organized by our International Training Center. In the second semester, you can split up and choose one of the 3 tracks within the Erasmus program. And then there's also a 4th track, but that's not part of the Erasmus program. So the 3 tracks, the one focuses on health and impact on the environment. That one you can follow at Wageningen University in the Netherlands. Then you have a program specialized on ecosystems and health at NTNU in Norway, and then on animal health and welfare at the university in Barcelona. Then in the 4th semester, so that's the 2nd and the 3rd semester. And in the 4th semester, you all make your thesis. And your thesis, you can choose where you perform this thesis, be it at one of the 3 partners or at Ghent University or with one of our associate partners. And then on the next slide is presented our AQUAH Management Board with, Jean already mentioned it. I will go from left to right for you on the screen. So left, we have Geertje from Wageningen University. Then we have Bengt from Norway. We have Anna from the University in Barcelona. Sitting down is Jean, who is present here, and then next to Jean is me. Standing up again, we have Louis Tort, Professor Tort from also the University in Barcelona. Then next to him is Geert Wiegertjes from Wageningen University. And last but not least, we have Anna, who is also from NTNU in Norway. And on your right, you see a video of our students. They don't get a mock exam of genetics, or they do get a mock exam, but in the form of a game where they have to solve genetic questions that are spread and hidden around the faculty. And if they solve them in a right way, and the one that has the best answer, the most correct answers within the shortest amount of time, they gain a prize, which you can see here, where our this year's students are posing with the trophy that they won, this is the chocolate letters, during one of the activities within the genetics course. For us, it's also very important to that our students excel at international level, which you can find on the next slide, where here you can see one of our students, my thesis student, Jishu Tang. He's a Chinese student, and he has presented his thesis work at the AQUAH 24, which is a huge European aquaculture conference, and also the World Conference every 2 years in Denmark. This time it was September. He presented on essential oil components and the work that he had done there, and he won the best oral presentation. Somebody else who also presented her thesis work there was my thesis student, Harriet Buri-Krijn, and I believe she will be the next up speaking on the next slide.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I would like to invite Harriet to share her experiences in AQUAH. She graduated very recently, so in 2024 to be more precise. Welcome, Harriet.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. So as mentioned, my name is Harriet Nketia Buri-Krijn from Ghana, and I joined the AQUAH program in 2022. What motivated me to join the AQUAH program was because the health part of aquaculture was not really developed or did not have a lot of expertise in Ghana. So I saw the program online. I was like, yeah, this is the perfect program for me, because I did my undergrad studies in aquaculture and then watershed management. So I felt like it was just the right program and then the right timing to gain much knowledge in health management in aquaculture, so that I'll be useful to my country when I go back. And I chose the Barcelona track from the tracks that were presented earlier. I chose the Barcelona track first because it was warmer in Barcelona, and then also because it would give you the opportunity to study in 3 top universities in Spain. And then also because the course combinations in the Barcelona track that I chose covered not just production in aquaculture, but then not just like the health, but then production all the way to engineering. And then I felt like it was covering every aspect of aquaculture that I really had interest in. So I felt like it was a very good combination, and then a very good, like, expertise. And then they had like very good professors that were like always available to like help the students. So yes, basically that is one of the motivations why I chose the UAB track. And this program also gave me the opportunity to do my internship in Czech Republic with the Institute of Parasitology. And through this research, I was able to like present my work in many conferences and also gain an award to travel to Canada to present my work. So this program does not just give you the opportunity to like do research and in just aquatic health, but gives you that exposure to countries beyond Europe. So I believe that it's been a very fulfilling journey. And finally, I did my master thesis under the supervision of Professor Annalise and Eric Demilda from Crevetech Farm, where my thesis was centered on the strategies to reduce Vibrio in the gut of the Pacific white shrimp. And through the research, I did trials on fatty acids, which we discovered at the end of the thesis that was able to reduce to some extent the Vibrio content in the gut of the shrimp. And I was happy to present these findings during the conference in Copenhagen. And I believe that it did not just also boost my confidence in the research, and then finally climax the whole experience with the program and the exposure, and then the opportunity to meet people from different like countries and everything. But I mean, it also gave me the like that startup every expertise that I needed. And then now I feel like I'm more confident to pursue further research, and then I'm like looking forward to doing a PhD in aquatic health and then broadening my knowledge and gaining more skills to be more useful when I go back to my home country. So I believe this was the best decision I took, and I am absolutely happy and excited about this program and how everything ended. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harriet. I think that was very inspiring, and I think such an inside view is very interesting for future students. So please also feel free to address your specific questions to Harriet at the end of the webinar and the Q&A. So let's move on then to the AQUAH consortium partners with Jean.
Yes. So as you have understood, the program is organized jointly with 4 partners. You may wonder why these 4 partners. Well, first of all, because of the excellence of each of them. They are all leading researchers in aquaculture. They have a track record of joint collaboration. You can also see here in the rankings that they are all part of top universities within Europe. But of course, this is all very nice, but you will also wonder, are there nice universities to study? And let me show you a couple of impressions in the next slides on each of these partners. Now, the Ghent University, which is coordinating and where you will start your studies, it's a mid-sized city. For some of you, it will be very small. It's 300,000 inhabitants. It's a rich historical city, but with a very vibrant student life, relatively large university and for the size of the city. So you'll have a very international student vibe in the city. The campus is inside of a city, very close. It's a city that is very accessible through bicycle, quite safe as well. So you'll feel home pretty easily. And on the next slide, you'll get an impression or an illustration of the variety of students we have. The graph also shows that 1 out of 3 students at our faculty are actually non-Belgian students. So you will not stand out. You will find a lot of peers around you, and found friendships probably for life. Now, the next partner, I will go from north to south, is NTNU Norway. And Harriet already mentioned that she chose for Barcelona because of the heat, but let me assure you that in Norway they have invented heating by now. Moreover, it's also a very pleasant city with a very nice scenery around it, nature-wise, where students have assured me that they have found time to explore one of the wonderful landscapes. It's also a renowned university within the aquaculture. As you know, Norway has a very dynamic aquaculture sector, and this university is at the heart of it. They also have a quite well organized student life. The next partner, if we go a little bit more south, we come in Wageningen in the Netherlands. Now, Wageningen is more a village than a city. It's quite small, but the university is quite impressive with modern facilities and with top quality installations for aquaculture. There, you will feel home there very easily. And then the last partner is Barcelona. Barcelona is a very big city compared to the other cities in the consortium. They have more than one university, and we're working together with University Autonoma, which is a #1 in Spain. They also have very fine facilities. The campus is slightly outside the city center, and it's very lush and a modern campus. And Barcelona on itself offers a lot of possibilities. You may know that Barcelona is one top destination for tourism, so there's always something happening there. So this is in a nutshell a short impression of the partners where you will perform part of your studies if you choose for our program. And I give the floor back to Leen.
And I will directly give it back to you because
yes.
I think you are going to say something about the master program
Indeed.
application.
The floor is going back and now. Yes, now you may wonder, how do I apply? Well, before you apply, you need to make sure that your profile corresponds to the minimal requirements of the program. On academic requirements, we require a bachelor degree of 180 European credits. That's equivalent mostly to 3 years study worldwide. We do look at your final or your average result, which should be at least 70%, or that corresponds mostly to second uppers in most countries. And you need to be able to demonstrate a sufficient or knowledge of basic science topics such as statistics, mathematics, chemistry, biochemistry, biology, and microbiology. We in detail look at your transcript of records to make sure that you have the necessary prerequisites before you can start. A background in aquaculture is strongly recommended. It's not essential, but you can imagine that if you have never seen a fish from close by, we may wonder why you would choose for this program. So some background in aquaculture is recommended. In case of doubt whether you would be eligible or not, you can always contact us via email. So important note, you can also apply now if you are still studying in your last year. Then you need to provide us a certificate by your university that you're finishing your studies, and at the end, before enrolling next year in September, you can show your diploma as soon as you have obtained it. Then the language requirements, quite important. I will not read all the details, but we do expect, or we do need a proof of sufficient level of English for all students except for those who studied in USA, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, or Canada. I do realize, or we do realize, that many of you have studied in English in your home country, but unfortunately, some of our partners, and it is decided that we only accept language of instructions of these 5 countries. The question that we anticipate on is, what about funding? As you may have learned, if you have consulted our website, we for the next academic year, we don't have scholarships like we had last year. So we strongly encourage you to look for alternative funding. For some countries that you see listed there, there are organizations that provide scholarships. But I'm sure that within each country there must be ways that we are not aware of that you can find alternative funding to sponsor your stay here. Then let's have a look at what the program will cost you. We estimate that you will need around €1,000 a month for living and subsistence, accommodation, clothing, etc. This is an average. Well, you will spend half a year in Ghent and then half a year in one of our partners. There may be some differences, but we learned from our previous cohorts of students that the difference are not that pronounced. Norway may seem more expensive, but then it compensates that they have better support for housing, etc. What is the cost of the program? Well, the tuition fee is 4,500 for European candidates and 9,000 for non-European. That is per year, and the program is 2 years, as you will know. And on top of that, you will need some funding for international traveling, coming to Belgium to start your study, but also to travel from one partner to another. Plus, eventually, if you would decide to do your thesis abroad, there may be some extra costs involved there. So if you are now convinced to apply for our program, the applications is entirely through an online platform. Before you start with the online platform, we suggest that you prepare the necessary documents that to be uploaded while you apply. You can see that you will need your bachelor or master degree diploma, the transcript of records, very important, so we can judge on your sufficient background, the English language certificate, a motivation letter, as personal as possible. ChatGPT can help you but cannot replace you. And in case of academic admission, the legalized documents of your academic credentials will be transferred to you. Finally, what is the deadline? Well, in case you do need a visa for Belgium, the deadline is the end of February. So in order to give you sufficient time, if accepted, to arrange for your visa to travel to Belgium. If you don't need a visa for Belgium, that is the case for most European participants, the deadline is the end of May. And the academic year starts in September, with a preparatory stay as of the early September, while the academic program starts in the 3rd week of September. And I think with that, we covered the application procedure, and I give the floor to Leen.
Thank you, Jean. We ended in September, and yeah, let me say a few words about the start of the AQUAH journey. As pointed out, it starts in Belgium at the Faculty of Bioscience Engineering, and there the team of the International Training Center, which you see on this picture, is ready for the new students to arrive and to make the start of your studies go as smoothly as possible. How do we do that? By offering the so-called takeoff program. Here you can see a picture of the last edition taken in September 2024. And for the record, these are not just AQUAH students. The takeoff program is offered to all international students who start an English taught master program at our faculty. So this takeoff program is a preparatory program, and it's meant to facilitate a smooth start of the academic year. It consists of 3 parts. The first part, pre-departure, as the word said, already starts before you come to Belgium. It starts in May, June. And this is an online support campaign that is meant to guide you as a student in everything that already needs to be done before departure, like passports, visa, preparation of a bank account, insurance, travel itineraries, etc. Then the second part is check-in at FBE. FBE means Faculty of Bioscience Engineering, so it means you have arrived in the meantime. And at the faculty, we organize presentations in small groups where we talk in depth about all the administrative requirements that you have to fulfill, like residence permits, also insurance-related issues, taxes, etc. And then from the second week of September onwards, the third part starts, onboarding at FBE. It's also the most fun part, I would say. There, a whole series of interactive sessions is organized in order to for you to get acquainted with your new surroundings and your new classmates. For instance, we talk about the daily Ghent in life, the daily life in Ghent. And Belgium, student well-being, we invite a student psychologist, for instance, traffic rules in Belgium, local mobility, waste recycling, and so on. We add some fun activities as well, like a quiz, a city game, a sing-along, and first words in Dutch. These are, for the record, also of no relevance or necessity for your studies, and so only the language certificate counts. And you also will notice that the average person in the street in Belgium is quite fluent in English and well equipped to help you. But we noticed over the years that students tend to like it if they can just say goedemorgen or goedenavond, something to greet another person in the street. So that's why we organize this session. Career paths of the alumni. Let's go over to Professor de Klerk again for this part.
Yes, indeed. So the career paths, as already mentioned, we start paying attention to these possible paths in your career and take into account the wish of the students, also already during the training. So career paths, you can choose an academic training if you would like to continue research. Then you can do a PhD at universities or research institutes. Many students also choose after graduation for the private sector. They are R&D officers in aquaculture companies ranging from aquaculture farms to feed, pharma, supply companies. They can become consultant on aquatic animal health issues, because that's of course a specialization here. Or they are self-employed fish vets. I do believe that it is very essential to have this background in the health management as is provided in this program when you're a fish vet. Then the public sector, that's also another option that you can choose. You can become public veterinary officer. For example, we have a student that is now responsible for farm fish health and welfare, or quarantine regulation, food quality and security control, etc. And then, over 80% of our graduates is employed within 6 months after graduation, which we are very proud of. And I believe it's now up to Megan.
Yes, before we proceed to the Q&A, I would like to invite Megan. Megan McElhenney from Canada. She will highlight the relevance of AQUAH for her own career so far. So welcome, Megan.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm speaking to you from Canada. That's where I'm from and where I went back to after I finished my master's degree, the Erasmus master's degree. I think everyone is probably concerned after they graduate with how soon they get hired and can find a job. I graduated in September of 2023, and I started looking for jobs in November of 2023, and I got a job offer in January of 2024. So once I started applying for jobs, it was actually less than 2 months before I got an offer, which is always a bit of a sigh of relief, I think, when you're finished graduating and looking for work. The position, I interviewed for a number of different positions, actually. So Canada has a pretty big salmon aquaculture sector. So I did apply for a few research and development positions in that sector. I also looked at government positions. So we have a Department of Fisheries and Oceans, which is also responsible for aquaculture, governing aquaculture legislation in Canada, and I did some applications there. I did maybe some applications that wouldn't necessarily be top of mind. So I grew up in Toronto, and Toronto has a really big aquarium called Ripley's Aquarium. It's a public aquarium. And when I was applying for jobs, they were looking for an aquarist to help take care of their aquarium tanks and all the fish in the aquarium. And the aquaculture degree is actually a pretty perfect fit for doing that kind of work as well. So that's also something I looked into. And then my background before starting my master's degree in aquaculture health management was in environmental science. And I actually ended up landing in a position that kind of combined my environmental science bachelor's degree with my aquaculture degree. So I currently work in environmental consulting for a private company. And that company does a variety of work. They do terrestrial stuff, they do aquatic stuff. And I was hired more to work in the aquatic realm, particularly in monitoring aquatic habitats and wild fish, salmonid populations in Canada. And so I do a variety of work in that realm. Some of it is routine monitoring for the government. They're interested in monitoring those populations and how they're doing. Some of it is if there is industry work. So, for example, Canada has a lot of mines and mine processing facilities that require water intake from a lot of our major streams and rivers. And so a lot of the work that I do is doing assessments of fish populations to see how those industries are impacting our fish populations and their health, as well as the health of their environment. And so for me, when I was interviewing and when I was getting hired, I think one, it was interesting to a lot of employers that that through my master's degree, I had been in a lot of different countries. A lot of employers were very interested to hear about the experiences I had. I studied in Ghent, and then I did the Norway path. So I lived in Norway for a year, and we're very interested in learning about the different experiences I had there. I think it's a lot of employers are interested in employees who have a diverse range of experiences and can bring something new to the table that, you know, maybe is not a focus in your home country, or just different techniques that are applied in different places. So I think that was something that was actually quite helpful for me to help me stand out when I was applying for jobs here in Canada. And then for my role in particular, I would say my background in fish health, like having an understanding of fish anatomy and just requirements for general fish health, was one of the key reasons that I was hired. But also the aquaculture program in Ghent and all of the other consortium universities talks a lot about zootechnics, which is essentially providing fish habitat that is appropriate for rearing healthy fish. And so that's relevant both in farm situations as well as wild situations. You need to have certain, you know, water characteristics in order to have happy, healthy fish. And so being able to do water quality testing, which is something that I did a lot of during my master's thesis, was another skill that my employer was looking for specifically. And then I think also that's something that's important to note is that in my field, a bachelor's degree is sufficient to get hired into this field, but having a master's degree affords a number of benefits. So one of those benefits is taking on some of these larger projects in research and planning. So some of the projects that I work on industry impacts, those are the reports that we write are read at the federal level. So there's federal government officials who are reading those reports. They're sometimes used legally, both in Canada and the US. So when I was getting hired into this position, my employer was really looking for academic writing skills. And so having that background in writing a master's thesis was also really critical. They were looking for someone who had a master's degree and was able to do scientific reporting and writing, particularly writing that will stand up to assessments by professionals in the field. And I guess the other thing that's worth mentioning too is I think in a lot of countries there's professional designations that allow you to work professionally in different industries. The environmental consulting industry in Canada, you are required to be registered as a professional biologist in order to operate in this sphere. And you do need to have a bachelor's degree to get that professional designation, having a master's degree. So you need both academic experience and professional experience. And my master's degree actually counted towards my professional experience. So it was able to help me get that designation faster than I otherwise would. Which can be quite helpful. And if there's professional designations for jobs that you're interested in, may be relevant for that as well. I think I had considered, when I graduated, I had considered going on to do a PhD, and decided that I wanted to get some kind of hands-on experience before I decided whether I wanted to continue with my academic journey, and also what I wanted to study for my PhD. And I think it's been really valuable. There's a lot of skills that you get from hands-on experience. And some of those skills I got during my internship, during the Erasmus Mundus program. And maybe actually circling back to what employers are looking for, I think a lot of employers are really interested in what you learn in the academic realm, particularly interested in talking about how you might apply that if you get hired. But they're also really interested in hands-on experience, so that the internship opportunities in the AQUAH Erasmus are really great for getting that hands-on experience, as well as a lot of the lab work that we do too. So you have those skills that you're kind of ready to apply as soon as you get into the professional realm. In terms of options between employment right away or continuing the academic career, I'm still deciding what I want to do, if I want to continue working, or if maybe in a year or two I would go do my PhD. So I think probably if I wasn't doing the work I'm doing now, it would be a PhD program that I'd be participating in. But there are, I think maybe sometimes you hear aquaculture and you think like, oh, that's maybe a little bit niche. Like when I graduate, I'm like, there's only opportunities in aquaculture. And first of all, there's a lot of opportunities in aquaculture. We saw on the last slide that you can be in research and development, you can be in quarantine, you can be a vet. So there's a lot of opportunities in there. But I also think that this program provides a lot of skills if you're just interested in working with fish and fish health in general. And so, yeah, like it applies to environmental consulting, it applies to aquariums, a lot of different things. In terms of kind of like still being connected back to the AQUAH program, I am still in contact actually with a lot of the people that I went to school with, particularly the people that that were in Norway at the same time as me. I have some friends who are doing PhDs now in Norway. I have some friends who got jobs in Denmark. And so it was actually really great to have that network, I think, when you graduate from the program, just to like check in and see how people are, just catch up, but also it's great because people kind of disperse around the world after the program, and you get a sense of what they're doing and what opportunities are available to you, whether that's academic or professional work. And I also think that the AQUAH network is quite extensive. So it, of course, includes the universities that help provide the program and their partners, which were mentioned. But for me, I was always pretty interested in moving back to Canada. And my professors knew professors who were working in Canada, and also knew people in the private sector who were working in Canada. And we're happy to help facilitate kind of making those connections in my home country, even though I didn't study here. And so I think that's one of the things that's pretty unique about participating in one of these international Erasmus programs is the networks are quite extensive, and you meet people that have worked all over the world with all different kinds of people. And so your opportunities when you leave the program, there's a lot of people who can help try to get you where you want to go. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I have to say.
Thanks so much, Megan. It was particularly very nice to hear that so many aspects of the program that you mentioned were actually of importance to your employers and their decision to hire you. So I hope you will continue to experience the value of your AQUAH degree for many years to come. And again, to the audience, if you have questions for Megan, feel free to add them in the Q&A box. We are now proceeding to this last section. Please take a look before we go there at our contact details and social media URLs. We warmly invite you to follow the International Training Center, on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. We often post interesting stories from inside the program, and we do that in close collaboration with the AQUAH students, so it can be very interesting. I invite you to check out the program details on aquah.eu and to ask all your questions regarding possible application to the application's email address.